Welcome back, guys. We have one of the biggest chess scandals in the history. Grandmaster Hans Niemann smashed Magnus Carlsen, and Magnus somehow withdrawn from the tournament, and everybody thinks that Magnus thinks Hans was cheating. But let's see what happened in that game. Let me know in the comments what do you think about it. I don't know yet. Let's check the game and I'll give you my final thoughts. Let's start. So Magnus was playing with white pieces, and I think he has an advantage here. As Hans is a young player, he is not so positionally good at chess, he's not so experienced as Magnus, and I didn't think before the game like Hans would have any chances against Magnus, but let's see what happened. The game started with d4, knight f6, c4, e6, knight c3, bishop b4, Nemtsovich defense, and Magnus played this g3 move. Hans plays castle, which is a good move, obviously, bishop g2, d5, a3, and Hans plays bishop c3, b takes c3, d takes c4. An interesting move, as he opens this bishop for Magnus, which can potentially become very strong, as Magnus will probably take this pawn at some point and start pressing on b7. Knight f3 is played, c5, castle, c takes d4, queen d4. Magnus is ready for the endgame. Knight c6 with a tempo attacking the queen on d4. So Magnus takes on c4, e5 is played, bishop g5, h6, rook d1, and brilliant move bishop e6. At this point, black is better already, and as Hans said in his post-game interview, he knew Magnus' preparation, and Magnus has played this variant already in 2018 against Wesley. But it turned out that it didn't happen, and how Hans could even know about the variant Magnus will play this? I mean, this is a bit strange. And black is better at this point. So Magnus plays rook d8, bishop c4, rook a8, bishop f6, g takes f6. Hans has even not a worse structure, but double pawn here. But he has potential going there, attacking the c3 pawn, b6, knight a5. And Magnus has not a weak pawn, but he needs to deal with this. King f1 is played. A bit passive, but it's logical. Magnus wants to go here, only one, and maybe if rook d8, then rook d1, and trade the rooks off the board and make an easy draw. But let's see what happens next. Rook d8, king e1, knight a5, rook d1, rook c8, allowing rook d7, rook d6, and stuff like this. Knight d2 is played. Bishop e6, good move, yep. c4. Magnus just tries to make a simple draw. Maybe, for example, if trades, knight c4, bishop c4, or rook c4 better, bishop b7, and it's an easy draw. But Hans didn't take that. He plays bishop c4, knight c4, rook c4, and now black are up a pawn with this knight against this bishop, and I don't know if this bishop can somehow be activated in this position. For example, bishop d5 and doesn't even, if something like this happens, bishop d5, e4, and try to make pressure on f7 pawn, but this didn't happen in the game. So what happened? Rook d8, bishop d5 right now, rook c7, good defensive move, not allowing rook d7. So then rook a8, a6. So a bit strange move, as some players would probably play b6, placing the pawn on the dark square, not placing like playing a6 and just creating more targets. But as it turned out next, it was a good idea. Rook b8 f5, rook e8, e4, g4, rook c5. I mean, brilliant game by Hans. Knight d6, f take g4, rook d7, e3. What a move! What a move! e3, guys. Yeah, the idea is simple. Play e3 and knight e4. And e3 they can't take because of rook c1. Rook d1, e takes f2. I mean, this is brilliant. F takes e3, knight e4, king f1. Defending from what was threatening is rook c1. For example, white make like a5, rook c1, rook d1, takes, knight c3, and taking this bishop. So rook c1, king g2, rook c2, bishop f7 is played. I mean, Hans is not afraid of anything here. He allowed Magnus to take on f7 and some potential draw chances. Rook e2 is played, king g1, rook e1, king g2. Draw? No. Our guy is playing for a win. King f6 is played. I mean, Magnus already was happy, I think. He would make draw in this position, but no. Hans continued playing for a win. Bishop d5 is played. Rook d2, rook f7, king g6. And now if bishop takes e4, king f7, rook d7, knight g5. And if, for example, bishop f7 happens, just king f6, rook d2, knight f3 fork. What a calculation by Hans. Rook d2 is played, knight f3, king g2, knight d2, a5, king e5, king g3, knight f1, king f2, knight h2. Now looks like white will take pawn on b7 on a6 and just promote this pawn, but Hans was able to find knight moves on time. Knight f3 is played, knight e5 and knight c6. And Magnus can't defend this pawn on a5. So bishop b7, knight a5. Bishop d5. Knight has no moves here. Simple h5. h4 and king e5, and Magnus resigned. As for example, bishop goes somewhere, knight will bring to the attack, and at some point the pawns will be promoted. So guys, Hans played a brilliant game and Magnus has withdrawn from the tournament. But what do you think? Could Hans play that level or not? Because it seems strange. As soon as St. Louis Cup turned 15 delay, Hans started playing a bit worse. Like, I watched his game against Caruana, he played with white pieces and got destroyed. I don't know, it's need to be proven that he cheated or not. And it's like 50-50 percentage, I don't really know. It's hard, but the way Hans played in the next games was just really not the level he played in this game. So once again, let me know in the comments what do you think, and see you in the next videos. Bye.